So with that done, I would love for any of our delegates that want to chip in and ask a question to raise their hand, and then Lee will arrange for you to be able to ask a question. So please feel free.
Tim, sorry, I was just going to say there's a couple of questions on the Q&A tab that might be useful to that are in the open section that might be useful to read through and answer live.
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So some of our students have got muddled in mocks despite showing them clearly in any of the solutions in student coding and unchanged files in completed coding, or indeed a mix of each. I'm not surprised. Are we sending both folders in LWT zips, and Edexcel marking will unpick issues if they do occur? Well, thank you for asking that question in such a clear way. The answer is that there are restrictions in terms of regulations. We are not permitted to allow or to request that, say, everything that a student could possibly have done is returned to us. Turns out there's regulations against that. So what I suggest you do is you continue to work with your students to keep them calm and ask them to work in the right place and save them in the right places, and then zip up, as we showed you in the previous slides. Zip up the folder that is correctly named and send that to us. The examiners will be instructed to look in the completed coding, and if there is missing information in the completed coding folder, then we need to work with the centres to decide how to move forward over that. I mean, I feel like, and I completely understand this muddled, and this is exactly what 15-year-olds will do in the high stress environment of a GCSE exam that means more to them than anything in their lives up to this point, that this kind of confusion will and can happen. I mean, I think it's you tell them to put it in the completed coding folder. I mean, even if that's make a copy of the q01.py in the completed coding folder and work from there. You know, if they misname it in the completed coding folder, the examiners will look at it. So I suppose the naming getting muddled is less worrisome than if they don't put it in the right place. So please instruct them as best you can. Obviously, after or at marking, if there's empty completed coding folders that examiners are looking at, then we will be contacting centres as part of the standard processes. But we can't bring everything back, is the answer. Thank you for the question. Any hands up? Is everybody being so polite, or is it just too early in the day to?
Still no hands up yet, Tim. But
okay.
There are
so here's another question regarding the folder. Can there be a backup folder that the original question is pasted on the desktop for students in case they've overwritten it? Absolutely, we don't have a problem with that. We've also captured in the ICE that in the situation where a student has damaged or overwritten or lost the original seed code file, that it's fine to have an IT person there ready to drop a new clean version into the student coding folder, even during the assessment, if that's a requirement. So yeah, a backup version of it is also not a bad idea. You know, and the whole thing is, you know, what we want is for the students to be comfortable and successful. And what we don't want to do is over confuse them or you in terms of setting up the environment. So we went round and round in circles during the development of this qualification. Should we should we provide underscore a ridge underscore finished and let them work only on the finished and be able to look? Do you know what I mean? We didn't come up with anything that didn't complicate it more than the simple, straightforward seed code in one folder, put your work in the other. We believe that's the simplest. I completely get that on the day there's going to be confusion and issues by students. I mean, I think part of the invigilator's job at the beginning of the exam is to remind the students, and I think it wouldn't even be a bad idea for teachers to train students to maybe the very first thing they do is do copy paste all of the original ones into the completed and work from there is also fine by us if you ask them to do that. Long answer to a short question. Are you able to pause the exam as I have a student who needs a rest break due to medical conditions? That would be access arrangements. Hopefully you're an exams officer, in which case you'll know how to broach that through Edexcel online and make the application for that student. Obviously, in the right situation, that has to be supported clearly. You will be required to show that you can do that without losing security. Could we have clarity on what not access secure coding files means, as there is a process of copying them from one folder to another and then opening the coding environment and selecting the current? These steps do not access the secure coding files. We would like to be able to instruct and supervise students on this point before the exam timer starts. Can they name the files but not open them before the exam starts? Can they name the files but not open them before the exam starts? No. Not access secure coding files. All that means is that you don't show the seed code files to the students the day before, or before they're in exam conditions. The first time they should see Q01.py up to Q06.py, the first time they see those is in the exam. That's what we mean by not access the secure coding files. So these steps do not open. Is there a process of copying them from one folder to another and then opening the coding environment, selecting the correct folder? I think if you decide in your environment to take the student coding files and drop a copy of the student coding files in the completed coding folder before the exam, I think that's okay. That'd be your call. The only thing is, hopefully it doesn't confuse the students. If that's what you've trained them to do and explain to them how it's going to work, I think that's fine. That's not accessing. You're absolutely right. That is not accessing the coding files. It's just dropping them into two folders. It's not dissimilar to another question where we said, what if we wanted a backup of the originals? Just drop it into the two folders. It's fine. Does that answer your question? And forgive me, I'm trying not to use names so that when the recording goes out, we're able to freely circulate it. So that's my answer to that one. No hands up. Would be lovely to hear somebody else's voice. Do feel free, even if it's to say good morning at this stage.
I thought you were going to say even if it was mine, Tim, but I know that wouldn't be true.
Can the teacher be present in the room during the exam? Okay, preferably not. It's awkward and difficult for the classroom teacher. In fact, it might actually be not allowed in a GCSE. And maybe Ruhi, they're not actually allowed, are they? If my colleague's shaking her head, so I guess the teacher cannot be in. It's the same rules, mind you. These are centre rules, right? The JCQ sets up recommendations, and then each centre has responsibility for deciding their rules. I know in my centre I wouldn't have been allowed anywhere near any of my students when they were undertaking GCSEs. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought you'd finished it. We've got a couple of hands up.
Great.
Do you want me to open up Stephen?
Yeah, absolutely. Just give them the mic. But the only thing is, I would say, if, however, you are a centre who is bereft of IT support, and you may need the only person, say, that is going to be able to help those students be successful as a classroom teacher, I would suggest you contact us directly. If that's what you're talking about, contact us directly, and assessment will be able to work with you as to whether there might be a way of helping to make it work correctly. So yeah, let's hear somebody.
Stephen, I've opened up your mic if you want to ask Tim a question.
Hi, Stephen.
Still showing us muted. I've just sent an ask to unmute.
Yes. Okay, am I being heard now?
You are.
Yes. Oh, hello, Tim. Sorry.
Morning.
Yes, morning. Just to pick up on that last point of the subject teacher being in the room. Yesterday, I downloaded a supplement to the ICE booklet that gave a number of special concessions that were permitted by JCQ for the June 2022 series. And that was one of them, that the subject teacher can actually be in the room if the circumstances require it. So yeah, that was really good news for this particular on-screen examination. So I just thought I'd put that out there.
That is really interesting, and like I say, what JCQ put forward are recommendations and suggestions, and then you'll still need to talk. Are you a teacher or
no examinations officer?
So yeah, so the exams office within every centre are responsible for setting their rules, and that's right. If having that teacher not present is going to cause the students to have issues or not be supported, then that's a special consideration. I still would recommend that you contact us and lay it out to make sure that we're supporting that. And but yeah, I mean, what we need to do is work for the good of the students. And there are centres out there that are very small and have restricted access to IT expertise that might be needed to. I mean, I must say, the IT support that's needed does not need to be a Python programmer. In fact, it's probably better if it isn't. The problem with it being the classroom teacher is there's that personal relationship, which puts you in a really difficult position. You want desperately to help your students. So for that reason, it's better not to have the classroom teacher in there. But the kind of IT expertise that's required is somebody that will be able to either reboot a machine, see that there's been a lock for some reason, help a student move to another machine, find deleted files and retract them. It certainly doesn't need to be a Python programming expertise.
Yeah, oddly enough, that's exactly what the teacher said. The point you made about there's too much familiarity and it might put them off, etc. But basically, that new supplement to the ICE document is called Guidance for Centres Managing Exams June 2022 series. It's worth a read. I only spotted it yesterday. That was all I was.
Thanks. No, it's really interesting, and it's all about finding the right balance, isn't it? Every exam centre has responsibility for setting their own internal rules and guidelines, and at the end of the day, it's the students that need to be supported, and the security of the exams have to be ensured.
Absolutely. So, yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for that, Steve.
Thank you.
So we've got another hand. Luke, would you like to ask your question?
Hi there. Yes,
Hi,
thanks. So I'm on the technical side. So if this is a daft question, apologies. I'm trying to get ready for the worst case situation. If a student has just updated the seed files and not copied any into completed, and it's clear what they've done, do I just copy the empty completed folder or move create an empty zip file, or do I include the files that are in the original folder, perhaps, I don't know, marking it with the fact that these are the original, in the original folder. Any guidance would be lovely.
Yeah, so in the ideal scenario, your students will do what they're told. The situation that you're describing, if you were to copy and paste all of the files into the completed coding folder, I think that's you know, what we cannot have is centers looking at what the students have done.
Yes,
We cannot have you, but you know, so
but if there's empty, if there are no folders,
there's no point in zipping up an empty folder.
Okay.
So yeah, don't send us an empty folder. But I'm trying to find. I don't know. Like my assessment colleagues will say send the empty folder because that's rules and regulations. I would say from a pragmatic point of view, talk to your exams officer. If the situation that you describe has happened and you paste the students' files into the completed folder and send them to us, I do not think that that is jeopardizing the security of the assessment.
Thank you.
But your exams officer would have to be comfortable with what you're doing.
Understood.
Ruhi, do you want to tell me off, or is that okay?
That's absolutely fine. I won't tell you off, Tim.
So we, you know, what we want to do here is, you know, it's this balance, isn't it, between pragmatism and good sense. And, you know, we want the students to be successful. We must not allow any advantages to creep in through special assistance. But, you know, let's all be calm, be sensible, be pragmatic. Don't not tell us what you're doing. We'll always act on the side of the students' good, the good of the students, and be pragmatic about this. Okay. And you know, I do know, I mean, you know, we had arguments internally, actually. You know, I wanted that we would give instructions to centers that there was a restricted set of places where a student theoretically could even save anything, and I wanted all of that to come back to us, but it turns out there are regulations that prohibit that. So this is the compromise that we're living with now. Thanks for your question. There's some more. Yay, we've got questions. So Dawn.
Good morning.
Morning. Hear you loud and clear.
Lovely, that's great, thank you. Forgive me, first time exams officer, so if the question's a silly one, I apologise. No but we're running this actually at an alternative site on that basically is nowhere near the school site. And I understand that obviously what you're saying about the gold padlock and it being available for secure download on the morning of the exam. Does that mean then that as the exams officer, I'm the only person that can open that file? I have to be at the alternative site to be able to do that, and I cannot be at our other site?
So, Dawn, that would depend on your IT infrastructure. If you're I mean, are you able to? Are there shared resources between the remote site and your
No, there aren't.
Folders? No folders? No.
Not currently. We're currently in the process of that actually happening within our service.
Okay.
But we don't at the moment. I'm actually meeting with the alternative site and the IT provider this afternoon at the alternative site.
So the answer is, like, simplest answer is, if you're over there, then it's a no-brainer. It doesn't seem like it would be beyond the wit of the IT support people to enable you to do it from your current site. I mean, you don't normally, you know, in this day and age, look at this meeting here.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to be at the remote site, but it's going to depend on your infrastructure. And
we don't share the same server. We're not on the same network.
But you could still have a secure repository that would be shared.
Okay.
I mean, the key is it needs to be secure, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Dropbox, which is not secure. but that kind of facility where you would access the secure exam files, put it somewhere, and someone else would be able to grab it and then do stuff with it.
Okay.
So Dropbox would not be a recommendation because it's not secure.
Yeah.
But there are, the IT people at that remote site should be full of all sorts of brilliant ideas to support that. And if they're incredibly unhelpful, I mean, I know IT's job, I'm going to annoy a third of our hosts here. I know their job is to say no, because they're trying to keep things safe. But, so just work with them and get back to us, if you let us know how it goes.
Well, up until recently, the IT providers that we have at our main site have not been the IT providers at the alternative site. Hence why I'm meeting with them this afternoon.
Yeah, well,
they
you're
don't
doing the
know
right
anything
thing.
down there. So
you're doing exactly the right thing. I mean, the other thing is that there could be a distributed role of exams officer in the other site. So in large centres, there's normally more than one exams officer that has the access to SDS and gold padlock. That's another way of looking at it. I don't know if you have an exams officer role in the remote site or not.
No, there isn't. There's a head of centre, and that would be, I guess, the only other person that could be responsible.
Yeah, well, so look, I guess the answer is, I don't know. It's going to depend. You're doing the right thing. Meet with the IT people and get back to us. If you've got a brilliant solution or you're worried, worst case scenario, if you're physically there, then that's the solution.
Thank you very much.
Nice to talk to you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Claire, I've unmuted you, I think. Yeah.
Hi, yeah, we've got Claire here, computer science teacher. I'm Liam, I'm head of computer science here. We've also got our exams invigilator with us as well.
Fantastic.
So
the whole team.
Our exams officer, sorry, Caroline. Yeah, I think I wanted to go back to a point you said earlier about coaching students to basically copy and paste all of their files from student code into completed coding, sort of as a standard practice. We have kind of done that thing through mocks before.
Yeah.
My question was, when our IT technicians receive the files in the morning from our exams officer, would it be permitted for before that folder is duplicated for each student, that our IT technicians were to copy and paste those files from student code to completing code before they duplicate and sort of deploy
distribute
to the student areas to sort of take out that step?
That's okay. So I mean, the only reason we didn't send it like that was we were worried that it's going to confuse kids, right?
Okay.
So if that's what your kids are expecting, then that's what you should do.
Okay.
And it's okay, because you are not in any way compromising the security of the assessment, so it's fine. It's the same answer, actually. Is this, am I talking to Luke, did you say?
Liam,
yeah. So it's the same answer as earlier when I think it was an IT person asked, would it be possible to have an original backup in a folder somewhere?
Yeah, it was a similar question. I just wanted to clarify.
So look, I mean, so the thing is, what we want is for this assessment to be successful, and we want the kids to be as little stressed as possible. And we talked endlessly about how we can make it fail-safe. And there isn't a fail-safe solution. And all of the things that you're describing, we considered, and we decided, in terms of making it available in the round, the simplest approach was the best. So we've got seed code files and an empty folder waiting for their work. In the end, we went for the simplest structure.
Absolutely. Okay.
If they walk in and in the completed folder they've already got files there, it's fine, as long as it doesn't confuse them and confuzzle them. And if that's what they're expecting, then yeah, it's fine from our point of view, because it in no way compromises the security of the assessment.
Lovely. Thanks, Tim.
Oh, we got some Stephen.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Hello, Tim. I don't know why I'm being unmuted because I've already posed my question.
Oh, your hand was still up. That's why. So I'm going to mute you.
Oh, no, it's down on mine. It's definitely...
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank
Probably
you.
my operator error.
All right.
David.
Hi there, this is David. I'm watching with my exams officer, Jen, who has the question. So I'm going to pass you over to Jen.
Thank you. Hi, Jen.
Hi. I've got a question about the new rules that came out on Friday that the other exams officer was talking about, the ones about teachers being allowed in a classroom.
JCQ guidelines.
In an exam, the new guidelines. What the new guidelines say is that as a last resort, a teacher can invigilate the subject teacher who taught the subject. And then we have to tell the exam board, and then the exam board has to decide whether or not to disallow the scripts.
Disallow the script?
Yeah, disallow the script. So
what does that mean? That's exams officer speak. I don't understand. Sorry.
It means cancel the student's paper, basically.
Oh, so you don't tell us ahead of time, you tell us afterwards.
Yeah, but then you've got a discretion about whether you then invalidate our exam. So we don't really want to let teachers into the room if there is any risk that we could invalidate our students' exam. So I just wonder if it would be beneficial, as this is a new exam and everyone's very worried about the administration and wants to get it right and make it work, if you would be willing to send something out to exams officers before the exam saying that in the circumstances, for this exam, you will allow teachers in for the sole purposes of assisting with administration.
Okay, thanks for the question. I don't know if we'd be willing to do that. The assessment team will have to consider that. I still think that the opening words in what you just read from JCQ stand is it's desirable that it not be the teacher. But your question has been received and our assessment team are on the line, so we will take that and consider it. I mean, it's news to me. I don't know if my assessment colleagues knew that JCQ had revised that, so we'll have a look at that and address it.
On Friday night.
Okay.
So they might not have caught up with it yet, but it's it could be very...
Can I ask? Is this general instructions for exams? Like, so if you were talking about a English GCSE, the classroom teacher can now invigilate.
Yes, it's called.
So how do you feel about that?
It's my worst nightmare.
Yeah, so you don't want to do it.
I don't want to.
If I were you, yeah. So if I'm the exams officer responsible in the centre, I would say, well, thank you very much, but no, thank you. I would keep teachers out.
No, I'm not asking you that question.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, if we get stuck and one of the IT teachers can help and comes in, I'm not sure I want to let them in if I run the risk of invalidating my exam.
Yeah.
So I think it would be helpful for this exam if this particular exam, if Pearson were able to say something to say that you were, as long as you were told about it afterwards, you were happy for classroom teachers to come in for the sole purposes of assisting with administering this exam.
So, like I say, we'll have a look and see if we can do that. I still think that an IT person is perfectly adequate. There's nothing that the classroom teacher can do that a IT support person couldn't. But that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be centres out there that have no one else. but the classroom teacher. So
Yeah.
contact us ahead of time on a one-to-one basis, and I think that's the best approach. But I'm not saying that we won't issue something. We're going to follow up comms. We're going to follow up this meeting with some official comms, and we'll address that JCQ point in that. Is that
Sorry,
okay, Ruth?
I just need to stop you for a minute. What you've been saying is not what the JCQ guidance says. So you've been saying it would probably be all right for a teacher to come in, and actually that's not what it says. It says that the board can disregard the exam.
Yes, that's news to me.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I know it's news to you, but it's important that exams officers out there know that it's that we put our students at risk if we let. Do you see what I mean?
Totally. Yes, I totally. But
Okay,
what I'm saying is,
then.
yeah, but it's fine, and we will look at it. It's news to me, at least, that it's there. But I still say there's nothing a classroom teacher can't do that any of your IT technicians wouldn't be perfectly adequate for. So, you know, if you are in that difficult position and you want to avoid any chance of any risk, I would say there's other options than the classroom teacher.
Right. Thank you. I mean, we're all in that difficult position, but thank you. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so look, we're at the end of the hour. It's been lovely. There's a couple of hands up. I'm happy to continue. Do we need to stop, Lee?
If you're happy to continue, I'm happy to continue.
Jane, I've just unmuted you. I know everybody's busy. Please, if you need to get to your busy day, do feel free to just log out, and you'll be communicated by email after the event. Jane.
Hi, it's not Jane. My name's Andy O'Brien. I'm in charge of IT at the school.
Hi, Andy.
I just want to go back to the question earlier about what if you spot that the completed coding folder is empty? Because I've fully scripted the process here to automate everything, to scoop the files up, zip them and prepare them for sending. So at this stage, we wouldn't be looking in the folders to see that. So my question would be, if we did look, what if we then notice that only question 6 is missing? Should you then go and look in the student coding to see if a file's been edited and that should get moved across? And that's taking it to an extreme. So where's the dividing line between deciding to move some files across or not?
Good question. And there's no good answer. Ideally, students will do what they're asked to do, and it'll all drop into the completed coding folder. We're not permitted to grab everything back, which would have sort of self-corrected for this type of problem. It's a judgment call. You know, there's going to be some centres who have 100 candidates where looking one-to-one is impossible. You've scripted as is quite sensible and good practice the approach. If you have 30 candidates or less, after the scripts run, having an eyeball of what's there might make sense. I'm really sorry, I can't.
Okay. So I've got that. Yep, I've got the head of IT with me as well, Richard Cookson, and he's then chipped in. Could we make the student coding file, make everything in there read only?
Yeah, if you're able to do that, absolutely. Yeah, the thing to do, you know, and this is another thing that we considered in our comms. You know, not every IT infrastructure has the ability to do that, so we decided to keep it simple. But yeah, that is technically feasible with some operating systems. So, and that you could look at that. The only thing is, I would say, is don't have it as a surprise for the kids.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep, thank you.
Alex.
Hi, can I go back to the previous point about allowing teachers in the rooms? Because I think it's a really critical issue. Larger centres, and we are one, we have about 90 pupils taking this GCSE, will require pupils to sit in multiple rooms. We have 3, 4, 5 rooms running concurrently with this exam. We simply don't have the IT resource to have IT technicians looking after all of them. And the computer science teachers are the only teaching staff who have the, or probably have the relevant technical knowledge to be able to step in and support. So additionally, we had an issue in an internal exam that we ran as a test a while ago, where a student had made a mistake in his code, which caused the emulator to crash. And it looked like a hardware fault, but wasn't. And it was only by having someone in the room who knew something about coding, who was able to say, oh, yes, this computer has not gone wrong. Actually, you've broken it. You've created a loop. If we have just IT technicians as the only IT literate people in the room, you're never going to get around that problem. You'll move them from one computer to another and the problem will persist. So I think having the computer science teachers allowed in the room is absolutely critical for the success of this exam. So I think my previous colleague who asked for something in writing from Pearson to allow it is absolutely right, and I think it's crucial.
Interesting. Yeah, I hadn't considered a situation where you'd end up in a what IDE are your students using?
Forgive me, that goes out of my comfort zone. I'm on the IT side rather than the academic side.
Okay, so it's not a problem that I had even considered could happen, that you would need coding expertise to help a kid be successful through the thing. I mean, Alex, we're not going to issue a blanket, everybody should have the teachers in the room. Exams officers are going to have a massive problem with it.
No, I'm not suggesting that the teacher should be in the room, but I think that Pearson really should send a formal notification to all centres to say that teachers may be in the room and that it's not purely an ICT support issue to keep the lights on.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I considered up until this moment that it was an IT support issue, so it's new information.
Well, Alex, it probably is, but there may be occasions where you need a bit more expertise.
Yeah, so I thank you for the question and the information, and we'll take it on board and we'll include that in our comms, or include something in our comms, even if we can't. We're not trying to hide from these things. We want the kids to be successful and we want the security to be assured. So we're working together on this. We'll come to a solution. Okay.
Thank you.
So we've overrun by 8 minutes. Thank you all so much for your attendance. Please do keep in touch. Do I have a final slide with my email address on it? No.
There is, your email address will be on the kind of follow-up email that'll go out.
Follow-up email. Okay.
I've definitely got it on there. Yeah.
So thank you all very much for your time, and do please keep in touch, and let's try and solve all of the, or answer all of the questions that we possibly can. So lovely talking to you this morning. Thanks for your time.